Hey guys, good afternoon. So we'll continue our discussion from yesterday. I stopped off with what is V by Q ratio. I was telling V by Q is 0.8. I told you this is a ratio between the ventilation of an alveolus to the perfusion that it gets. Right, just to reinstate, ventilation refers to the amount of oxygen that it will get in a minute, which will be close to 4 liters. Okay, oxygen or gas that circulates within it, that will be 4 liters, and this is around 5 liters, right? There is 5 liters of blood in your body that gets circulated around all over the body in 1 minute, meaning at any point, if I take any point as a reference, I know that 5 liters will pass through it in 1 minute, right? So if I take any standard alveolus, the V by Q ratio that I should get for normal functioning should be 0.8, right? Now the trouble comes in pneumonia. That is, what will happen. Let's suppose this is the blood vessel. All right. Because of edema and because of blockages, let's do edema this way. Because of fluid being built up here. See, because of fluid being built up, what is happening here to the alveolus? Something will happen, no? The normal function of alveolus is lost, meaning something important will be lost. In V by Q ratio, first which one will get affected? Think. I need an answer from you guys.
Ventilation will be affected.
Ventilation will be affected, obviously. So because of this, V will go down, right? Meaning this 4 liter is not being realized. Now you're not getting 4 liters anymore. Even if you're trying to breathe in, you're not actually getting the amount of gas that you are breathing inside because of a blockage there, right? Because of that, what happens is, if I take this as one particular alveolus, let's say I do this. Let's say this is one alveolus and this is a blood vessel near it. Let me draw the blood vessels like this so that you understand a little better. Let's suppose it is like this, and here you go. Okay, one second. And you have like this, and you have like this. Let's suppose it is branching off like this. Okay, I'm just creating small branches for blood vessels. Okay, just for your example sake. Now let me draw another alveolus like this. Okay, imagine this is another alveolus. Now what generally ends up happening is, whenever there is inflammation in one particular alveolus, let's suppose because of whatever reason this alveolus is not able to work properly, the one I'm highlighting in black. Okay, I'm not telling only in the case of pneumonia. In general, whenever an alveolus is not able to work properly, meaning it is not able to what you call ventilate itself properly, there is not enough amount of oxygen coming in. So the blood that is carrying here, now you know the blood that is going towards your alveolus will contain deoxygenated blood. So here, whenever it comes near the alveolus, it will get oxygenated. Carbon dioxide is exchanged to the is exchanged with oxygen, and carbon dioxide will be let out, while oxygen will be imbibed into your blood. That is what normally what perfusion near your alveolus will entail. So basically, आपका blood from deoxygenated, it will become oxygenated. This is what happens to the blood around your alveoli. Now here, because this alveolus is not working properly, there is no oxygen coming here. Your body reflexively, what it will do is, imagine after a little while your body is realizing that this particular alveolus, let's say this is alveolus number 1 and this is alveolus number 2. Okay, imagine this alveolus number 1 is not working properly. What will happen naturally is, this blood vessel that you see will constrict. Okay, this is normal. Okay, I haven't got to a pathological condition yet. Normally what will happen is, because there is some problem in this alveolus, maybe it got necrosed, maybe it got injured, whatever the reason, it is not working properly, so the blood supply to this will be cut off, in a sense that what will happen, the blood vessel here which was of normal size, that will constrict. So there will be vasoconstriction, and the blood which is present here will be sent in this direction and in this direction. So basically what your body is trying to do is, because this part of blood is not getting oxygen from this alveolus, it is trying to shift blood so that it can get oxygen from different alveoli. Okay, I'll repeat once again. Now, whenever there is a problem in a single alveolus, let's suppose there is alveolus 1 and alveolus 2. All right. Number one, alveolus is not working properly because of whatever reason, be it edema, be it infection, because of whatever reason it is not working properly. If a alveolus is not working properly, it will not ventilate itself properly, meaning oxygen is not being supplied properly. You know, the normal function of blood coming to your alveolus is to get oxygenated. You are getting deoxygenated blood, you need to get it oxygenated. That is what should happen in your lungs. Now, because there is a problem in the alveolus here, what will end up happening is this blood vessel will constrict, so that whatever blood is present in that blood vessel which wants to get oxygenated will be pushed aside. Okay, what will happen is this blood will start moving this side. Okay, more blood will start going in this side and more blood will start going this side. Basically, it will try to find other places where it can get oxygenated. All right, this is fine and all if it happens in one, what do you call, in one alveolus and in one blood vessel. If you can see this, it is one small blood vessel that is getting affected, others are not getting affected as much. यहाँ तक समझ में आया तुम लोगों को what is happening?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I hope all of you, if you're not understanding any one of you, please stop me, I'll explain again. Okay, now during this period of time, see, this is only one blood vessel. Let's suppose I number this number one blood vessel, blood vessel number 1, blood vessel number 2, blood vessel number 3, and so on and so forth. They'll be just for an example. Okay, now number 1 is constricting, so that whenever it constricts it will give blood around, and number 2 is getting extra amount of blood. Now let's suppose alveolus number 2 is also not working. Okay, so this is also getting filled up with edema, or there is damage or something. Okay, I'm trying a little bit of edema here, and let's suppose there is mucus being accumulated and whatnot, different types of damages is occurring here. Okay, basically this alveolus is also not working properly, meaning what will happen again, this fellow will also constrict, right? So you will see constriction in this blood vessel as well. So you have something like this. Okay, basically again it will try to push blood out this way and this way. Okay, wherever there is space. See, if this is happening to one or two alveoli, it will not make much of a difference. But if it's happening to a whole lobe of the lung or one whole lung, that will be a problem. That is what is happening in pneumonia. Okay, यहाँ से base condition, this is how it changes, how V by Q ratio changes. Initially, as you can see, ventilation is being affected. Because ventilation is getting affected, your perfusion will also get affected. Blood supply gets affected there. So what will happen? V by Q ratio will fall, right? This will go down. Okay, even if you have normal ratio, individual values of V by Q might go down. Meaning, let's suppose this 4 liters becomes 2 liters and this becomes 2.5 liters. You will have the same ratio, 0.8 will be the ratio, but you can see significantly perfusion has decreased and significantly ventilation has decreased. Right, I'm only giving you an example here, but as you can see, even if V by Q ratio remains the same, what is happening is that individual values are going down, because of which that indicates extensive damage basically. All right, I hope you understand the concept here now. What is ventilation perfusion ratio and how is it significant in pneumonia? All right, समझ में आया? What is V by Q and what is happening in pneumonia?
Yes, sir.
I hope all of you understood. If you have doubts, please let me know right now. Okay. Okay. Now, what happens is that after this, once V by Q falls, obviously we are not getting enough amount of oxygen. This will lead to a state of hypoxia. Right? If you're not getting enough amount of oxygen, decreased amount of V by Q, I can also derive from this that if I write this a little better, hold on, just write it in this way. Yeah. So what is happening is V by Q falls, right? Because of which what will end up happening is hypoxia. If there is hypoxia, your body will obviously see, if there is both decrease in ventilation and perfusion, you will have your chemoreceptors here and baroreceptors here present in your blood vessels. I hope you already know this. In your blood vessels, you will have chemoreceptors that are sensing the chemical vertical gradient in your blood, or the pH in your blood, or the number of chemicals present in your blood, and they are baroreceptors. Let's suppose I do baroreceptors in green. They are baroreceptors as well. Baroreceptors will measure the pressure. Okay, they will measure the blood pressure, uh, basically how strongly your blood is flowing, right? If there is a fall in both of this, it will cause a systemic reaction, which here it is starting off with hypoxia, right? There is damage to your alveolus, which is in turn causing hypoxia. Because of hypoxia, two things will happen. There is decreased amount of blood being supplied, so your blood will go in hyperdrive, your heart will go in hyperdrive, and it will cause tachycardia. It will start beating faster, right? And because you are not getting enough amount of oxygen, you will go into tachypnea, increased respiratory rate. All right, but the kicker is, even if you increase the respiratory rate, you will still have shortness of breath, because this alveolus is being clogged, right? If you can see here, the alveolus is clogged because of edema and because of mucus. Even if you increase the rate of respiration, the amount of gas that can come in is very little, because of which you will have shortness of breath. All right, so this will conclude the pathophysiology of your pneumonia. This is all that is happening in your pneumonia, right? I hope you understood this. Okay, in case any one of you want me to repeat pneumonia in general, or if you want me to brief out pneumonia, or if you want me to repeat today's class, today's section till whatever I did again, please let me know.
So
Hello? Yeah, I can't hear you.
repeat
Type
the
it out. I'm
to the
not able to hear you clearly. Type it out. Chat में type करो. Okay, waiting. If you don't have any doubts, then we'll go forward. Yeah, so please re-explain. Okay, देखो, which part do you want me to explain, the whole of pneumonia or just today's part? Today's part. Okay, so let me start off with an alveolus. Okay, there is an alveolus like this, and you have a nearby blood vessel like this. Okay, let's imagine this is a nearby blood vessel, right? Now, the normal function of blood, whichever is coming to lung. Now, you know, in your heart, you have your right ventricle and your left ventricle. Your left ventricle will supply oxygenated blood, blood containing oxygen to your body, and your right ventricle will supply deoxygenated blood that is coming from your organs to your right ventricle through your right atrium. This blood is supplied to your lung so that it can get oxygenated. Okay, this is the basis of the concept that we are discussing today. So whatever blood is present here, I already know that this is deoxygenated. Okay, let me do it in a darker color. Let's suppose this represents deoxygenated blood, and I'm trying to get it to become oxygenated, this color. Okay, red color I want to make it. Now, for this to happen, oxygen should be exchanged, right? From your alveoli, you need oxygen to be exchanged in, and carbon dioxide from here to go out. So you need to exchange carbon dioxide with oxygen. Point one. Now let's suppose there is some damage in this alveolus. Let's suppose this is alveolus number one. Suppose this is alveolus number one and there is some damage in it. Okay, either structural damage is occurring, or there is edema, or mucus being built up, or whatever. Okay, there is some problem in the ventilation of that alveolus, because of which that alveolus is not able to exchange gases properly. It is not able to contain gases, and it is not able to exchange gases properly. So what will happen is, this exchange will not occur. This fellow, oxygen will not be exchanged for carbon dioxide, meaning the blood here will remain deoxygenated. Okay, your body can sense this. saying that even if it is staying here for a long period of time, this blood is not getting oxygenated. What will happen is that blood vessel will constrict. So basically, the size of that blood vessel will decrease. It will constrict like this, right? And whenever it is constricting, now if you have a balloon, let's suppose, okay, and you fill it with water, as soon as you try to what you call pinch it, or you try to press it, or you're basically trying to squeeze it, what will happen? Water will start moving out away from your wrist, or away from the point where you're pinching. The same thing will happen in your blood vessel. If there is vasoconstriction like this in this direction, basically decreasing the size of the blood vessel, blood will start spilling outside in the sense that it will start moving to the area around it. So this is specifically deoxygenated blood. Okay, let me do it this way. Yeah, the deoxygenated blood was which was present here, more of it will start moving out, right? It will start moving into surrounding blood vessels. Okay, that is the first function. Now here what is happening, see, it starts off with a decrease in ventilation. Because ventilation is not proper, this is followed by decrease in perfusion. So Q will decrease, right? Now what happens is, this is happening in only one alveolus. Let me draw another alveolus wherein there is a blood vessel like this, and you are getting extra amount of deoxygenated blood from alveolus 1 and blood vessel 1. Okay, let's suppose this is blood vessel 1 and this is blood vessel 2, and you have alveolus 2 like this. Okay, now imagine there is damage in this one as well. Two. Let's suppose this is getting clogged with mucus or whatever, some type of damage. Okay, let's suppose this is getting clogged with mucus. Okay. In any case, this fellow is also not working properly. Okay. Meaning what will happen? The same fate as blood vessel 1 will occur in blood vessel 2, in the sense that your blood vessel number 2 will also constrict now. Okay. This will also constrict now, and it will also try to push blood away. So you are just pushing blood out here and there, but you're not able to perform gaseous exchange in this, right? In pneumonia, because of acute inflammation, there'll be a lot of inflammatory infiltrate coming into your alveolus, meaning it will not let alveolus do its normal function, which is ventilation. If there is decrease in ventilation, perfusion will automatically decrease. Because of this, V by Q decreases. Right? Normally, V by Q should be 4 liters by 5 liters. 4 liters of gas coming in, 5 liters of blood being circulated, giving you the ratio of 0.8. Now, even if I maintain the same ratio, but both of them decrease, for example, if the ventilation becomes 2 liters and your perfusion becomes 2.5 liters, meaning I'm simply decreasing the amount of gas that is coming into a person by half, and I'm decreasing the amount of blood that is coming to that spot by half. So what will happen is, this is with respect to this spot, okay, not all over the body, with respect to this spot. It can be a lobe in your lung, it can be the whole lung, it can be one alveolus in the lung, it can be one acinus in the lung. So generally in pneumonia, it will involve one lobe or one lobule, so a big area. What ends up happening is, even if the ratio is the same, you will have significant decrease in function, okay, because of which V by Q decreases. When V by Q decreases, you will automatically have hypoxia, because you're not getting enough amount of oxygen, right? If there is hypoxia, your body will automatically try to increase heart rate, and it will automatically try to increase respiratory rate, so that here Q can go up and here V can go up. All right. If respiratory rate goes up, ventilation, basically in normal condition, whenever respiratory rate goes up, ventilation should go up, and whenever there is increased what you call increased rate of contraction from your heart, your perfusion should go up. But because this is a special condition, you will have tachycardia and tachypnea. I will write tachypnea, and this is okay, tachycardia. Okay. So both tachycardia and tachypnea will happen, but there is no significant change wherein the patient will not be able to breathe properly. Still, this in turn will lead to more shortness of breath. Right? This is pneumonia basically. Okay. I hope this explains your doubt. Do you still have doubt in any other part? Any one of you? No? Okay. So we'll conclude pneumonia today. No, all right. So here we discussed mainly in this type of pneumonia, or till now we discussed bacterial pneumonia. Your bacterial pneumonia will be the typical trend. Okay. So the pneumonia can again be classified. You don't have this in detail, but you should know typical pneumonia. This will be mainly bacterial. Now you do have other types of pneumonia such as atypical pneumonia, wherein it is caused by a atypical organism. See, typical pneumonia basically indicates a typical symptomology in the sense that all the symptoms will start from your lung and you will see respiratory symptoms first. All right. So there will be what you call tachypnea. You will have shortness of breath. You will start coughing sputum. That sputum may also become purulent. It might have pus. All of the indications of a problem in your lung. Atypical pneumonia is a type of pneumonia that will also have extrapulmonary symptoms in the sense that, let's suppose someone is getting what you call a fungal infection. So they are getting pneumonia from a fungal infection, right? In such patients, they will have extrapulmonary symptoms like headache, dry mouth, or dry cough, uh, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea as well. Right? They might have myalgia. They might have a low-grade fever. Generally, in pneumonia, you have a high-grade fever. Especially if it is a typical pneumonia with bacteria, you will have a high-grade fever. In case it is a atypical pneumonia, like caused by a virus or by fungus, in that condition you will have extra pulmonary symptoms, symptoms that are going outside your lung. Okay. In those conditions it will be called atypical pneumonia. Then you have something called community acquired pneumonia. Community acquired pneumonia, as the name suggests, will refer to infection that is occurring in the community, but it is not just restricted to that. Let's suppose you have a patient who has been admitted in your hospital, but they have not been here for more than 2 days, yet they contracted pneumonia. In the sense that, let's suppose someone gets admitted in the hospital today. Okay, so today is 30th, right? And so they are staying for the whole of 38 up to first and first to second. Right? That makes 2 whole days, 48 hours. Let's suppose even if when they are admitted in the hospital, they develop pneumonia on the first day. That will still be classified as community acquired pneumonia. All right. Hospital acquired pneumonia is a different type wherein it is occurring after 2 days of hospitalization. Hospital acquired pneumonia. All right. Now, common causative organisms in your bacteria will be Haemophilus influenza. Streptococcus pneumonia is the main cause. Most of the pneumonia will be through Streptococcus pneumoniae. Sometimes Mycoplasma, Chlamydia, Legionella, they can also cause. You will also find some Staph aureus infections as well, especially if it is MRSA, it can get very complicated, especially in treatment. Okay, I'm hoping that you studied about these organisms in your microbiology, so I don't need to go into detail in these. Whenever I'm telling these organisms, I'm hoping that you already know the background story behind them. Yeah, at least what they are and what kind of infections they cause. Okay. Also, you have Pseudomonas aeruginosa that is involved as a bacterial infection that will cause bacterial infection. Pseudomonas aeruginosa will specifically infect immunocompromised patients. So people who are on what you call chemotherapy, or patients who are on treatment of autoimmune disorders, things like that, or someone who has HIV, immunocompromised patients whose immunity is not working properly, or someone who has what you call lung abnormalities like cystic fibrosis or bronchiectasis. Right? If you remember, I told you bronchiectasis is a condition in which your lungs what you call structure is getting damaged. Right? Those honey web comb kind of structure with what you call damaged what you call your bronchi, respiratory bronchi and all will get damaged. If you remember bronchiectasis, we read about that after emphysema and all. Right? Now, in atypical will generally be through fungal. Normally, histoplasmosis capsulatum will cause it. So will pneumocystis jirovecii. Okay, these two are the common ones. Pneumocystic pneumonia it will cause pneumocystic type of pneumonia. All right. Coming to community acquired pneumonia, this can happen through several organisms. One is MSSA, methicillin sensitive Staph aureus, strep pneumonia, Haemophilus influenza, Mycoplasma. The same organisms that can cause bacteria will cause community acquired as well. Uh, Hospital acquired, on the other hand, these are a little more special organisms. Okay, they are more resistant in a way, especially MRSA. So you will have one particular organism named MRSA that is very hard to treat. So that can cause your uh, hospital acquired pneumonia. MRSA is hard to treat because of resistance. There is a lot of resistance in this organisms that is present in India and abroad. So it is quite hard to treat this. So will Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, Enterobacter, all of them will cause hospital acquired pneumonia. All right. You will also have ventilator acquired pneumonia if you're not changing the ventilator. Basically, the endotracheal intubation within 2 to 3 days. The patient can what do you call the patient can incur ventilator acquired pneumonia, right? So this was about the types of pneumonia and some of the common what do you call other other types of pneumonia and some of the most common causes of these types of pneumonia. Some complications of pneumonia that can occur. Now when we discussed about pneumonia, I told you there are 4 stages. First one is congestion. I'm just at the what do you call initial. Okay, you have congestion stage where there is fluid buildup, day 1 and 2. You have stage of red hepatization where RBCs are coming. Then you have stage of gray hepatization where RBCs are dying, and then you have the stage of resolution. Okay, where things are being treated. Now, sometimes resolution will not properly occur and there will be scarring. Okay, to a point that instead of resolution, your lung will undergo something called organization. Organization is a process in which your lung is healing, but it is healing with extensive fibrosis and extensive scarring. Because of which, what will end up happening is, if you remember, अपन inflammation से पहले पढ़े थे in wound repair, there is repair and regeneration. Here, repair is occurring. That is why you have fibrosis and scarring. Your excuse me, your lung will become leathery in texture and it will not be able to what you call expand properly. So the function of that area, whichever is becoming organized, that will be lost. Also, pleural effusions can occur. So I hope you know what is the pleural space. Okay, your lungs are encapsulated in a pleura. If you see your lungs like this, let's suppose this is like this, and this is your lung. Okay, please excuse the horrible diagrams. So you have your lung like this. Your pleura will be something like this. Okay, you have visceral pleura and what do you call parietal pleura. I'm not going to draw both the edges. This will represent the pleural space. So you will have fluid, a little bit of fluid present in your pleural space, a couple of tablespoons, not more than that. Okay, very little amount. Pleural effusion is a condition in which a lot of fluid will start building up in this space, because of which your lungs will not be able to expand completely and you will not be able to breathe properly. Okay, that is a pleural effusion. You will have to intervene and you'll have to drain the fluid out. If you have been to hospital enough and you've worked in the respiratory ward, or I'm sure at some point or the other you must have seen patients with pleural effusion where a lot of fluid is building up like this, and what you need to do is you'll need to poke a syringe in and you need to drain it out, right? Or the patient will not be able to breathe properly. So will empyema occur. So empyema is another complication of your pneumonia where small cyst filled pouches are being formed in your parietal tissue, basically in your what do you call pleural tissue, sorry, not parietal tissue. So small cyst like structures will be formed like this around your lung. All right, and they'll be stuck in your pleural space. They can burst and lead to further problems, but generally these encysted pus, they'll contain pus inside. All right, these are products of inflammation. Because of extensive inflammatory damage, some people will develop empyema. Right, it is called empyema, this condition. Empyema. Right. The last complication will be lung abscess. Lung abscesses are small areas of necrosis in your lung. So if what you call, because of whatever reason that pneumonia is not resolving and there is extensive damage to the point that there is no repair occurring in your particular lobe or in a particular region of your lung, what will end up happening is small abscesses will occur, areas of necrosis, and these areas of necrosis can spread a lot. Okay, they are metastatic in a sense. So this is about pneumonia, right? I hope you understood pneumonia. If you have any doubts, please let me know. We'll start off with TB. For this, we have like a little bit of time. We can start TB tomorrow. Okay? If you have any doubts, let me know. Still have some time. We can clear doubts. No doubts? You can put it in the chat, or you can talk it out. If you're not, if your microphone is not working properly, you might as well use the chat. Feel free to ask doubts. Okay. If you don't have any doubts.